Hello everyone, today I wanted to do a bit of lore and story speculation for the upcoming Guild Wars 2 expansion, Secrets of the Obscure. This video is basically going to be highlighting a bunch of different topics, characters, and story beats that myself and other people believe are going to be playing a big part in the upcoming stories told throughout the expansion and within the main story. This list is obviously not exhaustive because there could be any number of different stories being told. Additionally, this is all speculation. Some is pretty grounded and incredibly likely to be included in the expansion, and some are more wild guesses that have a small chance of playing a part. In no particular order, let's get started. First off, let's talk about who's likely to be an integral character in the expansion, Isgarren. Isgarren is the wizard who we know lives within the Wizard's Tower. With the expansion's announcement, we now know there are multiple wizards within the tower that make up the Wizard's Court faction who we are going to be interacting with, where I would guess that Isgarren is most likely the leader or head wizard of this court, where we will likely be interacting with him a lot throughout the expansion. Other than the fact that he exists, lives in the Wizard's Tower, and is allegedly a nice person, not much is known about him. There is an interesting character that also exists in the lore who is Grand Wizard Garen, Isgarren without the is. This character was the one who created the gardens in Divinity's Reach, but it is unknown if Garen and Isgarren is the same person or connected in any way. They could be completely separate people. As we branch into speculation here, there's a lot we could talk about with this character. For anyone who has explored Garenhof after completing the Ender Dragon's final story mission, you will hear various villagers now presenting negative views towards Isgarren. Stuff like he abandoned them, he betrayed them, stuff like that. Where this could just be random humans feeling their emotions, or it could be foreshadowing to Isgarren potentially being a less good character than we previously thought. Though personally, I think that Isgarren will probably end up being a good person. But another area of speculation is if Isgarren is actually a human. If you look back at all the people in Garenhof, some people are talking about whether or not Isgarren is actually a human, and this brings forth a lot of interesting thoughts. We can see from this concept art here that there are three main characters that will be playing a role in the expansion. On the furthest left is Zojja, who we will talk more about later, but the other two characters are interesting, especially the one on the right, who could be either a Seer or a Djinn. Seers are incredible magic users, and it would make a lot of sense that Seers play a big part in an expansion that is going to be doing a lot with magic. There aren't many Seers left, and they are very mysterious, so it would make a lot of sense that one Seer, potentially with the name of Isgarren, would seek refuge in a relatively peaceful area of the Kessex Hills and hide themselves within a magical castle where people wouldn't find them and they could do Seer things like protect the entire world. We have interacted with Seers in the original Guild Wars, including there being Seers in Kryta, so it would make sense that maybe one is still around. Additionally, it is assumed that all of the Seers are dead, similar to the Mersat, but we don't know that for a fact. Maybe there is one Seer left, who is Isgarren, who is a character we see here. And then the Djinn are another race of powerful magic users who are the natural protectors of Tyria, where basically they are the anti-demons, and in an expansion that is involving demons, it would make a lot of sense that Djinn play a big part. And then when we look at the Wizard's Tower, it would make a lot of sense that a Djinn by the name of Isgarren created this place as a refuge. You see, the Djinn are incredibly powerful, are able to control a lot of things, and aren't always the most forthcoming with humans. So perhaps a Djinn made its way to Kryta, created the Wizard's Tower, and is working to protect the world against any demons. With both the Seers and the Djinn, it is pretty likely that we will see these races in the expansion, where it is very likely that we will see Djinn given their importance to a demon storyline, and then it is also likely that we will see Seers because it makes a lot of sense to me. And when we come back to this piece of concept art, I think this character could be either a Djinn or a Seer, but I mentioned this in multiple videos now, I really think this is a Seer. The body and head shape make a lot more sense to me, and it just gives me more Seer vibes. And alongside that, I think this character is very likely to be Isgarren, so if I were to lock in a guess, we have Isgarren the Seer, who's going to be a primary character of this expansion. But I will briefly talk about this third character in the middle here. This could also be Isgarren, a human wizard, or this could be another member of the Wizard's Court, but my personal guess is that this is a representation of the player character in the expansion. So in this concept art, we have Zojja, Isgarren the Seer, and the player character battling against the main boss of the expansion. Now to talk a bit about Zojja. We have not seen Zojja since 2015, where she was severely wounded in the battle against Mordermoth. Since then, we have heard nothing about her until now. I think the story with Zojja is going to be playing a lot into the Arcane Eye story of Guild Wars 2, where first things first, there's a massive Arcane Eye base in Garenhof that is probably going to be attacked and or destroyed at the start of the expansion with the rest of Garenhof. and this Arcane Eye base has probably spent a lot of time trying to figure out as much about Isgarren and the Wizard's Tower as possible. And now with a lot of activity surrounding the Wizard's Tower, we're probably going to see the Arcane Eye trying to do a lot of stuff to take advantage of the situation. An overarching story here is just going to be the Assurans being Assurans, but a more specific story that we may see is Zojja taking her next big move in her career. Zojja is a respected elementalist, golemancer, and a member of the College of Synergetics. She was the apprentice of Snaf, a member of Destiny's Edge, and a mentor to the Pack Commander. She has played a big part in the story of Guild Wars 2 and has a big place in Asuran society. One thing she is not though is a member of the Arcane Council, the leading body of Asurans, aka their government. She has mentioned in the personal story that her interest in the Arcane Council is iffy, that she kinda wants to be a part of the council, but she also hates the commitment and the bureaucracy. Well, look what's happened with Logan in the wake of being severely damaged in the battle against Mortarmoth. He now spends most of his time doing paperwork and sitting in an office in Divinity's Reach as the leader of the Seraph and the Pact, with only a few field excursions after the Maguma campaign. So this might be a path that Zojja is going down, where she's using the opportunity that has arisen with everything going on with the Wizard's Tower and the demons to petition a seat in the Arcane Council. That is a job that is a little bit easier on the body, and a job where she can have a big impact, where she might try to worm her way into and cement herself in the council through her actions in helping the Arcane Council and the Arcane Eye with the situation going on in Garenhof, and just adding another mark to her long list of accomplishments that would give her an even more favored position in claiming a seat on the council. And now, for a character that many people have forgotten about or may not even know about. Who remembers Auris Weirdbringer? This char was added as a part of a side story update in 2016, but was never fully fleshed out, and there were never any achievements added to the character. Instead of updating the game further, the whole thing was mostly dropped. This is an incredibly mysterious character that randomly appears in the Fields of Ruin. We don't know much about who this character is, but it seems like he is from the future and is being randomly teleported around the world. With a small story that is going on, we interact with him in order to close a bunch of magical rifts that are opening up around Tyria. Now, these rifts are caused by the explosion of the Bloodstone and Bloodstone Fin, but the central theme of that event, involving magic, is also a central part of the expansion story, magic. And we see that demons will be pouring through rifts or portals of their own into Tyria, kind of similar to the rifts we saw back in 2016. Now this is most likely just a coincidence, but it is interesting to think about the possible connection. But coming back to Auris, there is a lot of speculation about who this character may be, with the leading theory being an Aetherblade, given his initial appearance, and also the similarities between him and a character we meet in End of Dragons. And I believe this is most likely the case. However, I believe there could be a possibility that Auris is actually a member of the Astral Ward, who might have been ripped out from his position in space and time and thrown into Tyria, where he has a deep understanding about magic, rifts, time, and so on. And his role in the Astral Ward and his understanding about what is going on may play an important part in the expansion. But even if he is not a member of the Astral Ward, we might see this character still play a part in the expansion given his understanding of magic, rifts, time, and so on. But going over to the Astral Ward, we don't know too much about them, and we will learn more as the expansion releases. What we do know is that the Astral Ward are ancient protectors of Tyria who are fighting back against the demons. Now what is most likely the case is that this is just a new faction of people we have never known anything about and will be meeting them for the first time ever. But I have some crazy speculation about this faction that will most likely not be what happens, but I wanted to share it anyways, where I think the Astral Ward are a faction of people we already know in game, but they are a group of people who are able to traverse through time and are coming backwards in time in order to protect Tyria against the threats of the Kryptis. And that faction is the Order of Whispers. This is honestly dumb, crazy, and not likely in any way, but I really feel like the Astral Ward are an elite group of, or an evolution of the Order of Whisperers hundreds or thousands of years down the line who are still working to protect Tyria. There's not a lot of evidence that there's even going to be anything to do with time in the expansion, but talking about Auris and then the idea of the connectivity between time, space, and magic has really made me think about this possibility, and honestly, I think it would be really cool to see this happen, but again, it is unlikely. There's also the possibility that the Astral Ward and even the Wizard's Court are demons themselves. Demons in the sense of beings who are not from Tyria. You could use the term aliens here instead, where we will be interacting with completely brand new races that we have never interacted with before, who are from their own worlds, where potentially the Astral Ward are an organization of refugees from other realms and worlds that have been destroyed by the Kryptis and work together to seek revenge and try to prevent this from happening to other realms and worlds. There is one more faction that I want to talk about, and that is the Mesmer Collective. This is a bit of a mysterious faction that we don't know too much about, but they have been involved in events through the Guild Wars universe for some time now. There is a secret order founded in 1070 after Exodus, and basically they are a collection of different Mesmers who the only thing we know that they do is to try to handle situations where a lot of Mesmer magic is being used. The most prominent member of this order is, of course, Casimir Mead, where she was sent to Viathan Lake during Living World Season 1 to handle the Tower of Nightmares because it was hidden using Mesmer magic. Another character we got to meet is April. This is a character that, in a brief summary, was added for a bunch of achievements that is based on a real fan of the game and was put into the game for extra life. Now April is a Mesmer and is wanting to join the Mesmer Collective, and we did a bunch of things with her during the special collection, but April is here in Garenhof, investigating the Wizard's Tower. So we have this character that was a part of a special achievement added with a special event that is now taking a bit of a bigger role in the Guild Wars 2 universe, and our connection to the Mesmer Collective is interesting given that Mesmers are magic casters and we are interacting a lot with magic here. I mean, the Wizard's Tower teleporting away feels very mesmery, which might spark the interest of the collective. So we obviously have April investigating what is going on, which might lead into more involvement from and an opportunity to learn more about the Mesmer Collective, which of course might lead into Casimir Mead playing a big part of this expansion, just like she did with all 3 of the previous expansions. Which of course brings up a brief topic of who from Dragon's Watch we might see. Casimir is an obvious choice who might bring Marjorie with her. We will likely work with Timon and Gorg throughout the expansion given their importance and dedication to the story, as well as Zojja and the Arcane Council potentially taking a bigger part. Logan Thackeray is a technical member of Dragon's Watch, and we might see him involved given the fact that the Wizard's Tower is in Kryda. Kanak is another technical member, but who knows when we'll see him again. He's preoccupied with his business empire in Cantha. Bram is unlikely to participate because he has been relaxing in and helping the Norn of Holbrak. Kate is unlikely to participate because she is probably going to be helping Noreen and the Crystal Bloom transition to their new phase in life. And Ridlock Brimstone is unlikely to participate because of how he has been tied up with figuring out the mess that is going on with the legions. So these are all the big people and factions we will be and may be working alongside with in the expansion. But what about enemies? We know one big enemy faction that we are going to be dealing with, but let's first talk about all the other enemies we might fight against. First off, with the new realm of Amnitus, we know that this location is an echo of Teria below, where we will be traveling through various locations similar to Teria. As such, we could be fighting literally anything that we can and have fought in Teria. I will highlight one group of creatures, and that is Balthazar and the Forged. We see in this screenshot here that there are forged structures and a giant version of Balthazar's sword, so maybe we will fight the Forged and Balthazar again in the expansion, but who knows. But second, with this being an entirely new realm and a very interesting and astral place, there's a good chance that this expansion will really dip into the genre of high fantasy, where we will fight giant, incredibly unique, weird and crazy monsters that are unlike anything we have ever seen before, with an emphasis on both astral and flying creatures that call this unique area their home. Think about Morrowind in the Elder Scrolls universe, where the wildlife layer is crazy and nothing like typical fantasy. Or think about the Outlands from World of Warcraft. You have bog monsters and giant flying manatee-like creatures, just crazy unique stuff that I hope we will see a lot of in the expansion. But to lean into the main faction we will be fighting, let's talk about the Kryptis. We don't know anything about this faction yet other than they are demons trying to lay siege to Teria and want the magic found here. What we can say with certainty is that there are going to be a ton of demons like an invasion, and then a big bad we will have to fight. When we look at the smaller demons, we will probably be facing a variety of different creatures that we have and have not seen concept art for. And then there are some bigger demons that we will be fighting against as well. Not too much to say about this, except they all look really cool, but let's dive deep into the who, the where, and the why. Looking at who we can expect to be the final boss of the expansion is this demon. And this demon is super cool to me because it looks like it is the same race of demon as Deimos from Bastion of the Penitent, the one who tormented Saw D'Alessio for a couple hundred years, who's also my favorite boss in the entire game. So we might be seeing more stuff like Deimos and Samurag in this expansion, where the big bad is the leader of this faction of demons who wants the magic from Teria. But I talked a lot about this idea in my trailer analysis, And this is the potential for this to be an overarching story for the next few expansions of Guild Wars 2, where we might be fighting Deimos' long-lost brother in this expansion, but perhaps that character is just a minion of a much larger force we will be dealing with in the future. So I will just say that this might be a completely isolated story. We might fight this big demon that puts down the threat of the Kryptis. Yay, Tyria saved, time for our next world-ending crisis by the hands of a completely different faction somewhere else in the world. And I will say that looking at this concept art here, this is likely to be the big demon that we fight in the expansion. However, this character in this concept art really reminds me of a character from another video game, and that is Sargeras from the Warcraft universe. Now, in a one-sentence summary, Sargeras is the creator and the leader of the Burning Legion, the big faction of demons that basically go around the universe, destroying planets and all of creation. And Sargeras, alongside the Burning Legion, has played a large part in most of World of Warcraft's stories, up until his defeat, where they then try to make big grand battle threats, and of course, big grand battle threats do exist in Warcraft's lore. But for the most part, Sargeras was the main villain of World of Warcraft, where I think we might be seeing a character that is similar to Sargeras, both in vibe of fire and being demonic, but also being an overlord of multiple factions of demons that are trying to consume the magic of different realms throughout the universe that Tyria exists in. We're moving forward into new expansions. We may be interacting with this overlord in a variety of ways. Some expansions might focus on other stuff, some expansions might focus heavily on the overlord, all the way up until final confrontation after 10 years of story development, similar to what we see with the Void and the first 10 years of Guild Wars 2. So looking ahead into the future of Guild Wars 2, we could either have really isolated stories that focus on very specific topics in different parts of the world, or we could have less isolated stories that still focus on different parts of the world, but are all leading to this huge threat of demons trying to consume all of the magic in the universe, and we have to defend Tyria and potentially other realms as well. Only time will tell. But let's talk about a few other enemy characters that could potentially play a bigger role in the expansion. And really, there are two of them. The first is Menzies. This is the Lord of Destruction and the half-brother of Balthazar, the god of war and fire. Given the combination of fire, magic, destruction, being crazy, trying to destroy a lot of things, Balthazar being dead, and the Forge potentially playing a part in the expansion, it would make a lot of sense that Menzies is a big threat in the upcoming expansion, where perhaps he is in control of the Kryptis forces and is launching an invasion against Amnitus and Tyria. Another character could be Lyssa. This is more of a stretch, but this is kind of an open plot point that currently exists in Guild Wars 2, where Lyssa is potentially a villain that we will be interacting with in the future, who is very powerful and can control a lot of things, where maybe Lyssa is in control of the Kryptis forces and is launching an invasion to either gain more power or maybe claim revenge for us killing Balthazar. On a different level, we might see this expansion leading back into Lyssa and the rest of the gods storylines, where we are interacting with another realm and we are interacting with a group of demons that want to consume the magics of the mists. Given the fact that the gods have magic and that they have their own realm, they might have a stake in this conflict against the demons. I think this also leads back to another very interesting plot point. When Guild Wars 2 was originally being designed and storyboarded, before the concept of the Elder Dragons existed, the story of the game was going to put a large emphasis on an angels versus demons storyline, where maybe we are starting to see that story pick up again, where we will have angels, as in the gods and their minions, fighting back against the demons, the Kryptis, and any other demonic force that exists. This might then be connected back towards the plot point of demons that we talked about earlier, where maybe we are fighting back against a demonic overlord that is trying to consume all of the magic in the universe, which then has the gods helping us, and even potentially sacrificing themselves to fight back against this overlord. And then finally, this opens up an opportunity for us to explore a lot of different realms, as you may be interacting with the gods and their own realms, as well as any number of demonic realms. When it comes to who we interact with, who we fight, and where we fight in this expansion and future expansions, there's really a lot. And I think everything that I've talked about so far in this video are the biggest ideas and concepts for what we will be interacting with in that regard. There's definitely going to be a huge emphasis on the mists and other realms and realities that exist, expanding on the concept that Tyria is just one part of the mists, and there's a lot more going on out there. And when we look at other stuff, there really could be a lot going on. We could be interacting with where the sky scales came from, we could be interacting with the Seers, the Tengu could be playing a bigger role in this expansion given their proximity to the Wizard's Tower, and so on. But let's go ahead and take a moment to talk about what I believe the general direction the story is going to go down that is basically taken from everything we have talked about in this video thus far, where the biggest themes we are going to be interacting with are the two factions aiding us, the Astral Ward and the Wizard's Court, who are both defending the realm of Amnitus. The realm and Tyria itself are going to be attacked by demons known as the Kryptis, who want to consume the magics found here. We will be interacting with the Mesmer Collective and the Arcane Eye as they help out with the situation and take advantage of the situation for their own goals. We will probably be interacting with the Djinn and potentially one of, if not the, last Seers that exists. The story of the expansion will have us facing the start of the invasion as we fight back against demons and learn that Garenhof is destroyed, and learn about where the Wizard's Tower has gone, where we will then be teleported to Amnitus to learn more about the Wizard's Court and the Astral Ward, and work together to eventually defeat the threat of the Kryptis. A threat that may be the start of a much bigger issue involving a demonic overlord that is commanding different factions of demons across the mists to destroy realms and planets and consume all of the magic they can find. A threat that may tie into the human gods as we work with them to eventually strike down this demonic overlord as we travel through the mists. This is all the big lore and story speculation that I have going into the next expansion of Guild Wars 2, Secrets of the Obscure. This was a lot, and when we look at the expansion in the grand scheme of things, there really is a lot that could happen. Brand new stories and people we may not even know about, ones that we may not even be thinking about, and so on. We will see how much of this is accurate as we move forward into the expansion and go from there. If you have any other lore and story ideas, feel free to share them down in the comments. I am sure many others, would love to read through them and speculate about them as well. I hope you are all taking good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.